The Wrath of the Invaders. It was supposed to be a quiet frontier outpost, a small human colony nestled on the fringes of known space, with nothing more than a few hundred settlers and the promise of a bright future. Tiburon was a young planet, rich in resources and full of untapped potential. Yet, as Commander Kiera Morgan gazed out of the massive viewport of the orbital defense station, she could feel it in her bones. Something was wrong. A dark shadow was stretching across the stars, and it wasn't just the passage of time that made her skin crawl. Something far worse was approaching, something humanity had not prepared for. The comm system crackled to life, breaking the silence that had gripped the command deck for the past few moments. "Commander Morgan, you'd better take a look at this." Lieutenant Ramos's voice was tight with barely contained panic. He was stationed at the long-range sensor array and was the first to detect the fleet emerging from the darkness. Kiera stood up from her chair, her boots clicking against the cold metal floor as she made her way to the sensor station. Her heart hammered in her chest, but she didn't let it show. Her crew needed her calm, focused, and ready for anything. But the moment she looked at the screen, she felt her throat tighten. The display was filled with dots, countless moving ships stretching across the entire viewing panel. These weren't small scouts or exploratory vessels. No, these ships were massive, gigantic warships, each larger than any human vessel ever built. Their dark hulls seemed to suck the light out of space, leaving nothing but cold emptiness in their wake. "How did they get here so fast?" Kiera whispered, though she already knew the answer. "Unknown, ma'am. They just appeared out of nowhere," Ramos replied, his voice almost a whisper. "No transmissions, no signs, just here." "Damn it," Kiera muttered under her breath. It was like the darkness itself had birthed these ships, and they had come not for a peaceful meeting, but for something far more sinister. Her mind raced as she tried to assess the situation. Her instincts screamed that this was no ordinary alien race. These ships weren't just explorers, they were conquerors. She quickly turned to her communications officer. "Get me a line to the ground. Now," she barked. "We need to warn the colonists." "We can't, Commander," Officer Ellis responded urgently. "Their ships are emitting some kind of jamming signal. All communications are down. We're completely cut off from the surface." Kiera slammed her fist on the console, her knuckles white with fury. The colonists below, completely unprepared, had no way of knowing what was coming. They had no idea their world was about to be shattered. And then it happened. A flash of violet light lit up the black void of space, followed by the deep, resonating hum of weapons powering up. The first plasma shot struck the surface of Tiburon with the force of 100 exploding suns. It hit the largest of the agricultural domes, a vital part of the colony's food production. The structure shattered, a cloud of debris exploding outward in a devastating shockwave. The once glorious dome, built to withstand years of environmental fluctuations, was now a smoldering ruin. "Commander, they're firing," Lieutenant Ramos shouted, his voice rising with terror. Kiera watched the display in shock. The scene unfolding on the monitor was too much, too fast. Tiburon's atmosphere flickered as chunks of debris began to burn up in the planet's upper layers. And then, the worst of it, their primary dome, their main source of food, was gone. "Warning. Atmospheric breach detected." The station AI chimed in coldly, like a voice in the void. "Catastrophic damage to the surface. Immediate threat to the colony's survival." Kiera clenched her jaw and forced herself to take a deep breath. Her crew could feel the panic, but it couldn't spread. They needed her leadership, and they needed it now. "Status of the fleet," Kiera demanded. "We're still reading 27 ships, Mom," Lieutenant Ramos reported. "But there's more. I'm detecting multiple smaller craft. They're launching from the motherships." "Damn it," Kiera cursed again, her hands clenched tightly at her sides. "Prepare for impact. Brace yourselves." There was no time for second guesses, no time for strategic planning. Every second counted. The invaders were relentless, and their onslaught had just begun. Another bright violet flash lit up the sky, followed by the sounds of destruction. This time, the station's protective shields couldn't hold. Kara watched as the plasma strikes ripped through the outer hull, tearing apart sections of the station. She felt the station shudder beneath her feet as the first breach alarm sounded. "Status report on the station," she demanded, fighting to keep her voice steady. "We've lost hull integrity in sections 6, 12, and 15, ma'am." The AI responded in its usual calm tone, almost out of place amidst the chaos. "Evacuation protocols initiated. Oxygen levels are critical. Get the civilians to the bunkers," Kira ordered immediately, trying to keep her mind clear. The station had been designed to protect the population, but no defense system was built to withstand an attack like this. The next plasma shot was a direct hit to the civilian sector. The massive residential complexes, home to thousands of colonists, were obliterated in an instant. The destruction on the surface was far beyond anything Kara could have imagined. In an instant, millions of lives had been wiped out. 2 million souls. Kira muttered to herself, staring at the empty, charred landscape that had once been the heartbeat of Tiburon. Her eyes burned, but she did not allow herself to cry. She couldn't afford the luxury of grief. "Not yet. Commander, we've lost contact with the planetary defenses," Ellis called from her station, her voice tinged with dread. "The ground troops. They've been completely wiped out. We're on our own." Kara's mind raced, but she could feel the weight of a cold certainty creeping in. The invaders weren't just attacking for land or resources. They were sending a message. And that message was clear. No one, no matter how far they expanded, was beyond their reach. "Log this," Kira ordered in a voice that was steady but tinged with anger. Timestamp 349. Tiburon colony has fallen. 2 million civilians presumed dead. No provocation. No quarter given. She paused for a long moment, her mind running over the atrocities she had just witnessed. Then she spoke again, her voice harder, colder. "And may whatever gods they believe in have mercy on their souls. Because after this, we sure as hell won't." The invasion had only just begun. And as Kira Morgan stared out into the dark abyss of space, she understood one thing with chilling clarity. The invaders had just made the biggest mistake of their lives. They had woken something humanity had been preparing for, something that would ensure the future of the human race. The dragons had just been awakened. The Council of Earth's last stand. The moment Commander Kira Morgan's transmission reached Earth's Defense Council, a profound silence settled over the chamber. Across the room, holographic displays flickered to life, showing the cataclysmic devastation wrought by the alien invaders. The once thriving colonies of Tiburon were now nothing more than ash and ruins, wiped from the face of the galaxy in a flash of brutal efficiency. 2 million lives lost in an instant. Council members exchanged glances, their faces a mixture of shock, anger, and disbelief. The emergency session had been called to address a minor border skirmish with a rival human faction on Mars, but it had quickly transformed into something far worse. Admiral Victor Kane, Earth's most decorated military commander, and the man who had led the planet's defense forces for over 3 decades, stood at the head of the table. His presence was like a rock, solid and immovable, even as chaos and uncertainty raged around him. Counselor Thompson, a middle-aged man with dark circles beneath his eyes, slammed his fist down on the obsidian table, sending ripples across the room. His voice, though trembling with emotion, carried the weight of humanity's collective grief. "They've destroyed Tiburon," he shouted. 2 million people, gone. And for what? To show us their power. They'd gone too far, Counselor Rodriguez added, his eyes wide with panic. "They didn't just attack us. They slaughtered civilians. There's no negotiation now. We have to retaliate." "We will." Admiral Kane's voice was low but unwavering, his gaze fixed on the holographic display. But first, we need to understand who we're dealing with. The council members fell silent. They knew Kane's reputation. The man had weathered every storm humanity had faced, whether it was fighting off alien invaders or managing interstellar diplomacy. He was the embodiment of Earth's resolve. But this was different. The kind of devastation Tiburon had just suffered was unlike anything they had faced before. The Xans think they have us cornered, Kane continued, his voice cutting through the tension in the room. They think we're weak, that we're nothing more than farmers and merchants trying to play at civilization. But they are gravely mistaken. The truth is, they have no idea who they're messing with. He turned to face the massive display in the center of the room, tapping a few controls on his wrist device. The holographic screen shifted, revealing a darkened expanse of space, dotted with small but strikingly advanced ships. Each ship seemed to absorb the light around it, its design sleek and predatory, exuding an aura of power that sent a chill through the room. This, Kane said, is the real Earth Defense Force. While we've been playing nice with the galactic community, pretending to be weak and unprepared, we've been quietly preparing for just such a situation. And now we're going to show the galaxy what we're really capable of. Counselor Chen, a tall woman with dark eyes, leaned forward, her curiosity piqued. What are these ships? I've never seen anything like them. They're the fruits of Project Dragon Forge, Kane replied, his eyes gleaming with a predatory gleam. While our public shipyards have been producing outdated cruisers and cargo vessels, Dragon Forge has been building ships like these, stealth carriers, quantum phase drives, and dark forge armor. We've been preparing for this day for decades. The council members exchanged nervous glances as they took in the full scope of what was being revealed to them. Humanity had always played the role of the underdog in the eyes of the galaxy. They had been perceived as a young, naive species, one eager to learn but lacking the technological sophistication of the other older civilizations. But that perception was about to change. We've been sandbagging, Kane continued, a hard smile tugging at the corners of his lips, letting potential enemies underestimate us. Every treaty we signed, every trade agreement, every technological exchange, it was all part of a larger plan. While the rest of the galaxy thought we were just another primitive species, we were quietly mastering the most advanced technologies known to any civilization. Counselor Thompson's voice was almost a whisper as he asked, "How long have we been hiding all of this?" "For decades," Kane replied without hesitation. "We've been preparing for the day when humanity would be forced to defend itself. And that day has come." The holographic display zoomed in, showing a series of sleek, terrifying ships, their designs far beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. Phantom-class stealth carriers, each one equipped with quantum phase drives that allowed them to slip in and out of normal space without detection. Their dark forge armor could absorb incoming fire as if it were nothing more than a passing breeze. Their weapon systems could crack planets in half. "These ships," Kane continued, "are capable of things that no other species can even comprehend. When we hit them, we'll hit them hard and fast, and we'll make damn sure no one ever threatens humanity again." The room fell silent once more, the implications of Kane's words sinking in. This was no longer about survival. This was about revenge, and about sending a message that humanity would no longer be a punching bag for alien empires. Counselor Rodriguez finally spoke up, his voice shaky but resolute. "But how do we know we're ready? We've never fought an enemy like this." "We are ready," Kane replied, his voice sharp and firm. "We've been ready. Dragon Forge has 12 fleets ready for immediate deployment, with more in production as we speak. We've been planning this for years, waiting for the perfect moment to strike." "Are you saying we've been preparing for this exact moment?" Counselor Chen asked, disbelief in her voice. "Exactly," Kane said, a fierce glint in his eyes. "The Xans aren't the first expansionist empire we've encountered, and they won't be the last. But they made a critical mistake. They thought humanity was weak. They thought we were still the naive species they met in the early days of contact. Now, they're going to learn just how wrong they were. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle over the room. It's time to release the dragons. The council members exchanged nods of agreement, each one coming to terms with the gravity of the decision. There was no turning back now. The invasion of Tiburon had made it clear that humanity's time of passive resistance was over. "Get the fleets ready," Kane ordered. "We're going to show the galaxy what humanity is capable of, and we're going to make sure the Xans regret ever thinking they could challenge us." The holographic display shifted again, revealing the images of the massive Phantom-class carriers as they prepared for deployment. These ships weren't just weapons, they were symbols. Symbols of humanity's strength, ingenuity, and resilience. The dragons were awake, and they were hungry. The dragon's breath. As the Earth Defense Council voted unanimously for action, the news of the Xan's brutal attack on Tiburon rippled throughout the galaxy, sending shockwaves through every corner of the known universe. What began as a simple display of human strength had quickly evolved into something far more profound. The Xans had unwittingly kicked the hornet's nest, and now humanity's response was not just inevitable, it was unstoppable. In the deep, hidden facilities of Titan, far beyond the prying eyes of alien observers, Commander Akiko Tanaka stood before the first completed Dragon-class prototype. The cavernous hangar stretched for miles underground, a complex of subterranean tunnels and chambers designed to keep the most advanced military secrets of Earth safe from anyone, even the galaxy's most sophisticated surveillance systems. The prototype before her, though still covered in protective plating, already exuded an aura of power. It was more than just a ship. It was a work of art, a testament to humanity's ingenuity, and an answer to the Xan threat that had now come to haunt them. "Beautiful, isn't she?" A voice echoed behind her, and Tanaka turned to see Admiral Kane approaching. At one point, he had been just a captain, but now, as the leader of Earth's military forces, his presence was enough to make the ground feel solid beneath her feet. "Yes, sir," Tanaka replied, her voice steady. "The Dragon class is exactly what we need to send a message to the galaxy. It's not just a ship. It's a symbol." Kane nodded, his eyes narrowing as he took in the ship's silhouette. "It's more than a symbol, Akiko. It's a statement that the galaxy's perception of humanity is about to change. The Xans think they've won. They think they've crushed our spirit. What they don't realize is that they've woken something far worse than they could ever imagine. The ships of Dragon Forge, the ones humanity had spent decades developing in secret, were unlike anything the galaxy had seen. These weren't the outdated cruisers and cargo vessels that Earth had been showing off in public. These were vessels of war, designed with one purpose: to make anyone who threatened humanity regret it. With their sleek, predatory designs and quantum phase drives, they could phase through solid matter, slip into alternate realities, and move without leaving a trace. Their dark forge armor absorbed energy in ways that defied all known science, and their weapons could break apart entire fleets in the blink of an eye. But it wasn't just the technology that made these ships deadly. It was the minds behind them. The scientists, the engineers, the soldiers who had worked in the shadows, perfecting their craft, learning from history's greatest warriors, and building a fleet that would give even the most advanced alien civilizations pause. "This is the moment," Kane said quietly, his voice full of determination. "The galaxy thinks they know what humanity is capable of. They think we're still the timid, eager learners they first encountered. Well, it's time to show them how wrong they are." Tanaka stepped forward, her hand resting gently on the cold, dark hull of the Dragon-class prototype. "We've been preparing for this day for a long time," she said softly, almost to herself. "When the Xans decided to attack us, they made a fatal mistake. They thought they were stronger, but they don't know us. Not yet." Kane turned to her, a glint of approval in his eyes. "Exactly. They've underestimated us. And that's going to be their downfall. Deployment of the Dragons. The Dragon-class ships were ready for battle. The time had come to bring them to the forefront, to unleash humanity's true power and let the galaxy see just how far Earth's technological prowess had come. The 3 Phantom-class carriers, their hulls now fully equipped with Dragon-class assault craft, emerged from Earth's shadow, slipping into deep space like ghosts. Their quantum phase drives activated, allowing them to vanish from normal space and reappear at the edge of the Ctan border outpost, the first target of humanity's wrath. The Khans, still unaware of what was coming for them, maintained their usual patrols, oblivious to the storm that was about to descend on them. Fleet Commander Tanya Blackwood, the commander of the first wave, stood on the bridge of the Dragon's Breath, one of the largest of the Phantom-class carriers. Her eyes were cold, calculating, as she watched the tactical readouts on the main display. The Ctan outpost loomed ahead, its defense grid still operating at full capacity. But Blackwood knew that wouldn't last long. The Dragons were coming, and nothing, no weapon, no shield, no defense, was going to stop them. Status report, Blackwood barked, her voice commanding but calm. All systems are online, Commander, her tactical officer replied through the neural net. Dragon squadrons are armed and ready for launch. Blackwood allowed herself a brief smile, a flicker of satisfaction. Deploy the Dragons. The launch bays opened silently across all 3 carriers, and the Dragon-class assault craft emerged. These were not the clumsy fighters the galaxy expected from humans. Each Dragon-class ship was a marvel of engineering, capable of executing maneuvers that defied the laws of physics. Sleek and deadly, their dark forge armor absorbed enemy fire like it was nothing more than a light drizzle. Their weapons were powered by quantum energy, capable of bypassing shields and defenses that had once been thought impenetrable. As the Dragon-class ships entered the Ctan outpost's space, the first signs of trouble appeared. The outpost's reactor suddenly flickered and died, a massive energy pulse knocking out power systems across the station. The Khans, caught completely off guard, scrambled to engage the invaders, but it was already too late. The first Dragon-class assault ship, Hellfire, plunged into the outpost's defenses, its quantum blades cutting through shields as if they were paper. The Ctan ships attempted to retaliate, but their attacks were ineffective. Every weapon they fired seemed to pass right through the human ships, unable to even dent their dark forge armor. Commander, they're accessing our systems, screamed one of the Ctan officers over an open channel. They're using protocols that don't exist in our database. How are they doing this? Blackwood's cold smile grew wider. You thought you knew what humanity was capable of, she said through the ship's loudspeaker, her voice cutting across every frequency in the Ctan outpost. Now you know better. As the Dragon squadrons moved through the outpost like a well-rehearsed ballet of destruction, the Ctan fleet scrambled to respond, but it was too late. Their stations were crumbling, their ships torn apart by weapons they couldn't even detect. The humans were relentless, and they were everywhere. Message received, Blackwood ordered as she watched the Ctan outpost turn into a graveyard of shattered stations and broken ships. Leave no survivors. As the final Ctan vessel exploded into space, the human fleet reformed, their hulls pristine, untouched by the chaos they had unleashed. Blackwood activated the broadcast system once more, transmitting the simple message across all frequencies. We are humanity's real fleet. The ships you've seen before were nothing but decoys. We let you underestimate us. Now you get to see what dragons can do. The message echoed through the vastness of space, a declaration of humanity's true strength. And as the human ships vanished back into the void, the Ctans were left in stunned silence. They had not just lost the battle, they had lost the war. Humanity was no longer the underdog. They were the dragons. The awakening of the dragons. The galaxy was reeling. News of the destruction of the Ctan outpost spread like wildfire, crossing borders and breaking through the calm of neutral territories. It wasn't just the Kazan fleet that had been decimated. It was their sense of invincibility, their belief that no one could ever rise to challenge their dominance. Humanity had shattered that illusion with terrifying efficiency, and the Khans were just the beginning. Back on Earth, the full scope of the mission was just beginning to unfold. Commander Akiko Tanaka stood on the bridge of Aurora's Fury, one of the largest Phantom-class carriers in Earth's fleet. Her gaze was fixed on the massive tactical display, which showed a series of new target coordinates flickering to life across a screen. The Khans were retreating, yes, but the message they had just received was undeniable. Humanity wasn't just playing defense anymore. They were striking back with a fury no one had anticipated. Tanaka allowed herself a rare, grim smile. "We've awoken something more than just dragons," she murmured, her eyes never leaving the display. "Now it's time to awaken the entire galaxy." The holographic screen zoomed in on a series of new mission directives, each one targeting a Khan strategic location. Earth's fleet, now in full motion, was preparing to strike again. This time, it wasn't just about sending a message. It was about ensuring that no one would dare challenge humanity again. "Commander," a voice from the tactical station interrupted her thoughts. "We've just received a transmission from the Khan High Command. They're demanding a ceasefire, claiming the destruction of their outposts was a grave misunderstanding." Tanaka's lips curled into a small, mocking smile. "A misunderstanding, huh?" she muttered. "Tell them they've misunderstood the situation. We don't negotiate with those who think they can annihilate us and get away with it." She turned to her bridge crew. "Prepare the fleet. We're not stopping until every Khan ship in our wake is reduced to dust. No mercy. No surrender." The room was silent for a moment before the crew members nodded, their faces resolute. The tone of their commander was clear. There was no turning back now. The dragons had been unleashed, and humanity would never allow the galaxy to forget what they had awoken. The dragon's fury unleash. The Khan fleet had long prided itself on being the most technologically advanced and militarily powerful force in the galaxy. They were the predators, the conquerors, and they had never met an enemy that posed a serious threat to their power. That is, until humanity revealed its true strength. In a remote corner of Khan space, the Khan High Command huddled in their war room, surrounded by the flickering lights of battle reports and tactical readouts. The devastation they had suffered was staggering. Their once mighty fleet lay in ruins, and their most strategic outposts had been obliterated without warning. They had barely been able to mount a defense against humanity's unexpected assault. "What have we done?" the Khan War Minister whispered, his voice filled with disbelief. "We thought we were facing primitive beings. How could they have weapons like this?" A young officer, eyes wide with terror, turned to face the minister. "Sir, we're receiving more reports. The humans, they are everywhere. Our ships are being attacked at multiple points across the sector, and they're using technology we cannot understand. It's beyond anything we've ever encountered." The Khan War Minister clenched his fists in frustration. "But they're supposed to be primitive. We've watched them for centuries, studied their every move. How could they have hidden this level of power from us? Why didn't we see it coming?" One of the high-ranking generals stepped forward, his expression grim. "Because they were never as weak as we thought. They played the role of the innocent, naive species, letting us believe they were unprepared. And now they've unleashed something we can't stop." The general's words hung in the air like a death sentence. The Khans had miscalculated. They had believed that humanity was nothing more than a nuisance, an upstart species that could be easily crushed. But they had underestimated humanity's capacity for survival, for ingenuity, and for vengeance. "We need to respond. We can't let this go unanswered," the war minister growled, his hands trembling with fury. But even as he spoke, the Khans were already beginning to understand the brutal truth. Humanity wasn't just fighting back. They were preparing to dominate. Their Dragon-class ships, designed for stealth, speed, and overwhelming firepower, were spreading across sand space like wildfire. Each ship was a force unto itself, capable of destroying anything in its path, and with their quantum phase drives, the humans could appear anywhere, anytime, leaving no trace before disappearing again into the folds of space. In the Khan war room, there was no more talk of victory, no more planning of counterattacks. There was only the grim realization that humanity had become a force to be reckoned with, a force that could not be silenced, could not be bent, and could not be defeated. A new era of humanity. Back on Earth, Tanaka prepared for the next wave of attacks. The Dragon-class ships were ready, and the targets were set. But she knew that what was happening wasn't just about military superiority. Humanity was sending a message to every corner of the galaxy, a message that would ripple through the stars for centuries to come. "We are no longer the underdog," she said quietly to herself. "We are the apex predator." Her words, spoken with such cold certainty, carried the weight of an entire species transformation. Humanity had never been the kind of civilization to cower in the face of oppression. They had always fought back, always found a way to survive. But now, they had gone beyond survival. They had found the strength to take their place at the top of the galactic food chain. As Tanaka surveyed the final battle plans, she couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought them to this point. The last few decades had been spent in secrecy, with humanity quietly preparing for a day like this, when they would need to defend their colonies and their way of life. But it hadn't been just about military might. Humanity had used its ingenuity, its adaptability, and its history as warriors to craft a fleet that could crush anyone who threatened them. And now, as she looked out over the vast expanse of space, she knew the galaxy was about to witness the full extent of what humanity could do when pushed to the brink. "Release the dragons," Tanaka ordered. "Let them feel the full fury of Earth." As the fleet prepared to launch, Earth's ships emerged from the shadow of their homeworld, their engines flaring bright against the blackness of space. They were a symbol of humanity's power, a reminder to anyone who dared challenge them that they were not to be trifled with. And as they surged forward, the galaxy would know one undeniable truth. Humanity had awoken, and nothing would ever be the same again.